How did your friendship evolve over the years? Take me back to when you first sort of bumped heads.
Well, we met at Glastonbury in 2005, but it's a very, very hazy to non-existent memory for me, anyway, because I think we played a later show than you.
I have an image in my head of us sat at a bench, and I don't know if it's just because it's. I mean, as I get older, my memory's awful, really awful. But I do remember sat at a bench after your show. Because I remember Johnny was really excited, buzzing around doing his Johnny thing, and I was just in. They just headlined the second stage, and we played earlier in the day, and you knew my then girlfriend, now wife, and we were just chatting. But I do remember, but I think that's because there's a few photos, not of us together, but of that bench,
that night, of that bench
at that time, very exciting time. Editor's first Glastonbury Festival that I'd gone to since '97 as I don't know, the place where I realised what I wanted to do, you know what I mean? It's an important place to me, for me. So yeah, that's where we first bumped
into each other.
Yeah.
And then we just started, I mean, I guess we just, because we were both on the same circuit for a while, of both gigs and awards and socialising and whatever. And just being
so
in
many
London.
award shows.
Yeah, we went to one award show together and neither of us won anything.
But you had a good time.
Yeah, we had a good time. And then we started, a couple of years after that, I released a little solo album for charity, and we were doing a bit of promo, and Tom, I can't remember how Tom offered it up, but he basically offered up his services to come along as a pal and play on the radio with me and stuff, and that's how it started, isn't it? And then
totally.
then you started joining my band on stage to sing Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
And then fast forward a couple of years and we decided to go and mess about in the studio and just see what happens.
Yeah.
At school I played the trumpet for a while, and I can't remember exactly when, but it was about the time kind of being 13, 14, and so this is about 1994.
Wow.
Things like Oasis and Blur, and when that Britpop thing happened, exploded, that made me pick up the guitar, and my dad taught me a few guitar chords, and I stopped playing the trumpet and just started writing songs in my bedroom on my own. You know, spending too much time on my own upstairs. And then from like I said, when I was a bit older, 97, going to Glastonbury, and you know, reading The Enemy, and just really kind of, I think when you first fall in love with pop music, and it's very exciting and fun, and then I think for some people there comes a time in perhaps your mid to late teens where it becomes about identity and about kind of something more than just you know, you find a sense of belonging, don't you, in certain bands and scenes, and going to Glastonbury and seeing things like Radiohead
and you want to look like them and dress like them and
totally
yeah.
Powerful thing.
Yeah. So how did your sort of break, how would you say your break came? Where was it?
So what break? How did my break come? I played with a few people around Stroud in kind of A-level time, and then, you know, that didn't come to. It was fun, you know, don't get me wrong, but it did its thing. And then after A-levels, which I did quite well at GCSEs. A-levels not so well, and then I worked I took a year out and worked in a factory out the back of Morrison's in Nailsworth for a year, just to bum around, get some pocket money.
What's a factory?
It is an injection moulding plastic factory. It was very you wouldn't understand.
No, I don't understand. I'm confused.
Anyway,
It made you the man you are today.
I just wasn't in a rush to go to university, but when I eventually went to university, I did a music technology course, which wasn't that music-y, kind of in a strange town, but I wanted to meet people that wanted to be in studios and wanted to maybe form a band, and I met the guys that ended up forming Editors with, and the break, we were playing in Birmingham quite a bit, met some people there who also now live in Stroud, who managed the band. Wow. So the big break was meeting them, and I guess writing things like Bullets back in that time.
Yeah. And Andy, for you, how did Razorlight begin for you?
Well, I actually auditioned for Razorlight.
Yeah.
I was A-level time in bands, and I didn't go to university. I just spent the next 7 years being in bands, and to absolutely zero success, nothing, not even a sniff of a record deal. And then I was just about to give it up, age 23. I don't know. be miserable. I don't know what I was going to do actually, but I had made my peace. I remember that. I remember clearly being like, you know what? I don't think maybe this doesn't happen for mere mortals. Because I had given, I'd given it since. I mean, I got really stuck into the bands earlier on, but then Razorlight, drummer, left right at the start of their journey. So and I had never done an audition like that. I never answered anything in the paper before.
Was it just in the paper?
Well, no, actually, it's better than that. I went and recorded some drums for the Lemonheads producer, Julian Standen, and he was like, I can't pay you any money. And I was like, oh, wicked.
Got my drums back.
Yeah, okay. And he said, but I'll email all my industry contacts, which I thought sounded a bit like whatever. But by the time I drove down the M3 and got home, I had an email in my old Hotmail, Andy Burrows 3006 at hotmail.com, saying, this band Razorlight, if you go and check them out, you'll probably find them everywhere. The lawyers just emailed me saying, yeah, we could do with a drummer. So this email that you sent out saying, I know a drummer, worked. So I kind of got in through the back door, but then actually I had to spend the weekend doing auditions and stuff, and then it just went absolutely nuts.
So not a similar path to Tom then?
I think it probably was.
Work in an injection moulding factory?
No, I didn't work in it. I worked in a pub.
Yeah.
That was my job. But I suppose it was quite similar really in terms of bands. It just so happens that the one I formed as a young and wasn't the one that never happened for us. So I ended up joining a band that were already on the ascent.
Yeah. Talk about our sort of formative years growing up and admiring bands and possibly trying to be like that person in the band. How pivotal for both of you guys was some of the music shows back in the day? Top of the Pops is one that comes to mind for my era, how buzzy and lively that was.
Yeah, massively. Top of the Pops was incredible for all of us, I think.
Yeah. We even sing about it in one of the songs on
the record, yeah.
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 Is that the inspiration behind old TV shows?
Yeah, well, exactly. Just kind of, I don't know, that nice feeling of, especially those old kind of Top of the Pops 2 shows that they show all the time, which I know is probably slightly, when we were watching Top of the Pops, it wasn't Top of the Pops 2, it was just Top of the Pops. But when you look back at the slightly older ones, that kind of nostalgic haze they have was kind of a bit of an inspiration for that song. But I remember, I think,
And you guys would have appeared on Top of the Pops.
We both did Top of the Pops. Did you see the UK?
Yeah.
Yeah, did see the UK. But obviously when I remember mid to late 90s, things like The Word, TFI Friday, huge, The White Room, Jules Holland, Top of the Pops, see the UK. On Saturday morning, it was just the video show, and they showed the videos. And do you remember the chart show? Yeah. I remember sometimes you get like the rock show or the indie show.
Yeah. They do it
and there'd be like half an hour of
like this week is the rock show.
Yeah, I remember seeing like old REM videos on that.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but Thursday night was just a special time with your parents as well, wasn't it? It was a sit down with the folks and watch the show.
Yeah,
it's weird. It was a big enough deal when they chose to change it to Friday, let alone it's gone. You know what I mean? It feels very odd to not. I mean, obviously there's an entire generation of people that haven't got a clue what we're talking about, but it's very it's a real shame that it's not around because it was an amazing show.
Yeah. There's legs to bring it back, I think, isn't there? There's a potential that it could happen again.
Who knows? So. I mean, you'd like to think so. I mean, I always remember because I think both Andy and I very much were kind of, especially at that time, more indie or alternative. You know what I mean? Like the bands, for the most part, the bands, didn't have much in common with the Spice Girls or whatever was more pop at that time, but at Top of the Pops they'd be next to each other. Do you know what I mean? It's even more exciting that you'd have something from obscurity come and be next to enormous names.
And were you allowed to play live, or did you demand that you played live? Because obviously back in the 80s, Top of the Pops was very much miming, wasn't it?
Top of the Pops, when we did it, I think it's different for everyone. That
we did both. So
right.
I think they like you to. They went through a phase of the bands playing live. I don't know if that was our time.
When we did it, I sung live, but we mimed the playing.
Yeah,
I much preferred that. It's funny because all of my band didn't like miming and got really up on their high horse like it needs to be live, and I was like, I love miming because you could just be out.
I always thought that because Top of the Pops wasn't the place to see live. TFI Friday was obviously live, early, but then you'd have Jules Holland or, obviously Glastonbury being a big TV thing now these days. There's plenty of time to see live performances. But Top of the Pops, never was a problem for me. That
I loved the miming.
When did you guys both last played Glastonbury, and do you hope to do it again if it's?
I haven't played
allowed?
Glastonbury.
You've not
Oh,
played.
actually, no, yeah, well, no, yeah. Sorry,
You
I
did, but
played
you couldn't
Glastonbury.
remember.
No, I have. I
No.
played it.
Yeah.
I played it with Tom O'Dell in 2016,
Oh,
and
okay.
We Are Scientists just before that. So I thought I hadn't played it, but I have.
Yeah, we were booked to play it the year that editors were playing it. The year it got first.
Doesn't that mean?
time.
Doesn't that mean that you will play it then next year, probably?
There will be discussion. Maybe,
Right, you don't know
maybe,
yet.
maybe not. I don't know. So yeah, we were playing the John Peel stage the year that COVID took away our summer. So, and the time before that, yeah, I mean, it was about the same time as, I think it might have been, we might have played it when you played with Scientists. Thinking
Yeah,
about it.
you did. Yeah, we were. Yeah,
I've been so lucky.
2010.
Yeah, been so lucky to have, I don't know, maybe we played like 8 times over the years, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is it like to perform in front of that many people?
It's,
What goes through your mind when you're
I mean,
in front of a crowd that vast?
yeah, I mean, the first couple of times, I mean, you can branch the question out slightly to just playing, I guess, kind of festivals, because, you know, that editors have played a lot of European festivals, and we would normally play 1 or 2 a weekend from, you know, May to September, and have done for the last 15 years of my life, really, pretty much, until they got taken away. So there are so many to play. So that feeling of getting in front of a big crowd took a long time to get used to and to feel confident. And it wasn't until we were on our 3rd record that I really felt, you know, that was a place where I could actually be not myself, but just relax. But with Glastonbury, because of its significance to my life, you know, going there and playing there for the first time, and because that festival is so different from any of the others, it was, you know, it's incredible. You know, it's all those things. You know, you got the flags. You know, we've played when the sun's gone down and it's gone dark, and I've been in the crowd and had bands play for me in those slots, and had my life changed by musicians. You know. So to be on the stage is
do
incredible.
you see the faces when you're playing, or is it just a lot of heads? Do you focus on people's faces, or how does it feel when you're up there?
I don't tend to focus on people's faces,
No.
because they tend to put me off. I just forget words and things like that, and suddenly
Yeah.
feel a bit stupid.
And is it more nerve-wracking playing in front of a couple of 100,000 people or 50 people? Or is there no difference?
No, I don't know. Yeah, I've been more nervous at much smaller gigs than I have playing huge gigs, and vice versa. So I don't really.
You get like the whole thing.
weird.
Yeah, the whole thing gathers momentum. So like, you're with a band for a summer, and you might do, I don't know, maybe a month of rehearsals, whatever, and the whole thing, the crew, you have a busy summer, and the whole thing just becomes like a circus, you know, and you just, okay, you're on stage in half an hour, on you go, it's a huge crowd, and you try to, and then off you come, and onto the next. It just becomes, because it's a routine, it becomes a bit more comfortable. Sometimes those smaller ones, because they're normally one-offs, or maybe they're an acoustic show, I find them so much more terrifying.
Yeah.
Because there's less of that kind of circus to make you feel
I think
comfortable.
I think the smaller ones make me more nervous.
Yeah.
You can see, and I've done, and believe you me, I've done a lot more of them in recent years. They're you know, you can see everybody, and I think, like Tom just said, sometimes it's better not to.
And is it the before bit that's the terrifying bit? Once you're actually there doing your thing,
Yeah.
the nerves have gone.
It depends how it's going, really.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
if it's a shocker, the nerves often stay with you till you're off.
Yeah. And do you analyse afterwards as well? You have like a post-match thing, like a football thing.
I guess Tom's gigging life has been a bit more consistent than mine. So, you know, do you know what I mean? So you're probably better placed to answer, because I you know, mine's been all over the shop, different bands, different instruments.
Yeah.
So I have different reactions.
I don't think we've done so many that I think doing that kind of post-show
Analysis.
it seems a bit
Yeah.
Over the
you
top.
too to me.
Yeah.
And it is just a show and a moment in time, and you know, if there's some glaring cock-up that needs addressed, of course you will talk about it. But I mean, sometimes you might have a little look on YouTube if the video's there, and just make sure everyone's in tune. Sit on the down low,
And-
you know,
and
and
how
then
do
I'll
you-
just fire them.
And how do you feel about it when you watch one of your videos that you've created? Do you enjoy it, or are you the sort of people that don't really want to watch yourselves?
I'm not that bothered about watching myself.
I think it would be bizarre to spend a lot of time watching yourself.
Yeah.
If you've had a show that's truly special, and for whatever reason it really is out of the ordinary and has meant something to your career as a significant step, and then you might sit and go, oh, I should probably check out what we did that night. You know.
So what was that moment you said earlier that sort of music changed your life?
Well, watching bands, you know, that time of like kind of 1997, 98, Glastonbury Festival, going to gigs at the Guildhall, at the Leisure Centre in Gloucester.
Yeah.
Just falling in love with that whole culture and the power of music and live music, and you know, Glastonbury in particular was a very special place, and seeing Radiohead there in '97 was one that always jumps to mind. And I remember seeing REM not long after there as well, and you know, those bands are very important to me.
Yeah. How about you, Andy?
In terms of gigs, bits of music,
that's really hit you in the heart.
I mean, it wasn't quite as cool as Tom because I wasn't there, but I always remember coming home from school and watching Glastonbury '95 on the telly. That's the first time I'd watched that, and like the Phoenix Festival. I mean, going to festivals obviously is like a mind-blowingly awesome experience when you're in your teens, but because I never really got to go much until I got to play them, I just always remember sitting in my living room and it just looked like a different world to me. It looked like I couldn't even imagine being there.
Yeah.
So it was always a bit of a dream.
I always remember, like, even just like the back pages of the music rags, just the festival lineups when they would come out was so exciting, like the Phoenix Festival, or you know, just to see the Reading Festival, and oh my god, you know. And they take weeks, months. Sometimes they wouldn't even sell out at all. Just back then.
Yeah.
How much in the last year have you sort of missed the buzz of performing live to people?
Yeah, massively. I think a lot more than I realised in the first few months. I think in the first few months, because none of us knew how long any of it was going to be, I think we were probably all be like, oh, it's quite nice at home for a bit. But yeah, I've missed it massively.
I think it's been a real shame for this record for us not to be out and about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just doing, you know, just a load of little shows, but just to see faces and
see some reaction.
Yeah,
or
and
feel some reaction.
Yeah, you kind of get a better sense of how songs are going down if you can. Sometimes it's like, do we even release a record?
Yeah.
You know, because you know, it's quite hard, you know, to get that tangible, to get applause. We just love applause. We're needy, but in terms of for the editor side of things, I miss my brothers. And that's that side of things as well. You know, I haven't seen them for a long time.
Yeah. How have you guys sort of structured your lives? We've all had to adapt, haven't we? And some people have taken up bizarre hobbies or started eating something they've never eaten before. I drink coffee at 10 o'clock at night. I've never done that before. So, which is really rock and roll. But
very rock and roll.
But is there anything different you guys have done? Apart from obviously your music?
I don't think there's anything different really I've done. I mean, I guess living a bit more of a rural lifestyle is something that we're doing, but
adjusting to being out of London and having a new life has been happened in tandem with this thing happening, hasn't it? So,
just sort of finally, really, where the music industry's obviously been hit like a lot of businesses in the last year. Where do you see music moving forward now? In terms of some of the people that is probably really affected, like the roadies,
the roadie crew, and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, well, at the moment in this country, things are starting to feel a little bit more optimistic in terms of the late summer and beyond. You know, what that will mean, I don't know how, like the logistics of having a festival or how they're going to specifically do things, but if they're going ahead guns blazing, that they're going to start doing shows again. So I think if that does happen, there's going to be a lot of gigs in a short period of time.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think if anything does open up, and if it does go even slightly in the direction that we all hope, I think you can definitely rest assured there's going to be a live music boom of some sort, because everyone's just.
I hope so, because like you say, like
to get out and play and watch gigs.
Like some of our crew, like when this thing hadn't been off the road for 30 years, they do a tour with editors. They go somewhere, you know, they hadn't been at home for more than 4 days for So you know, lots of them have been retraining and doing other things to make ends meet. But
like when you get back out there on the road, how are you going to embrace it, or are you a bit freaked by it?
I mean, I'd just be up for it and excited, but I understand.
It's going to be weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be weird. I mean, it's weird, you know, when we met today.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we'll get you know, I'm not a massive fan of all the new terms and the word,
No.
you know, like, you know, the new normal and stuff. But I guess this has been a massive life-changing event, and there are some things that are going to be different, and that's not necessarily awful. Like Tom said, he didn't want to shake anyone's hand anyway.
And
Definitely not.
the funny thing is, though, I mean, 10 years, 15 years down the line, you'll be telling your kids about this time, won't you? When it,
Yeah.
you know,
when-
so because their kids are obviously, would you say they're pretty much oblivious to it, or do you think they get a little bit of a vibe from it?
I may definitely get a vibe from it. I mean, I think Tom and I have both got kids of similar ages, or at least the older two are, and I think that it must have really sucked for them and all the kids, you know, the teenagers and all that. The little, our little one, we've got one that's 5, and I think she's had a great time getting all this attention, and we've tried to make it quite fun. So I'm not sure if she'll remember it as being quite such a pivotal sort of, you know, blow. But even that age are going to be like, what was that weird time where we were just at home forever, and you were my teacher, and you were awful at it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think I was rubbish. I made a good robot out of toilet roll, but apart from that,
I'm going to do one more finally. I want to talk about football.
Right.
You're an Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
Forest Green's on your doorstep for both of you.
Yeah.
You've
I want to go there. So
you've
bad.
not had a chance to go, I guess, guys.
No.
Oh,
No.
have you been? I thought you might have been. No. Yeah.
Not a chance.
Really would
since
love to
been
go
back.
there. I do just drive past it, and it's
Obviously,
wicked.
in the time that I was out of Stroud, in Forest Green it was always a
small
thing.
club.
It was a
Yeah.
small club,
Yeah.
but it's obviously become this much more than a club, and I'm very aware of their ethos and read everything that's going on with great interest. I think it's wonderful. Obviously, Hector Bellerin is invested, and he's obviously Arsenal right back at the moment, and I'm very intrigued to get down there and watch a game.
Yeah. Are they a club that you keep an eye on the results
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well now?
yeah,
yeah,
definitely,
yeah.
So I mean, I know their ascension has been fairly rapid over the last 5-6 years or whatever. So
And the ethos as well probably is interesting for you
Of the
guys
club?
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's
yeah,
brilliant. What I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like he had it's a large reason for the sort of the Stroud. You know, it's very much associated with this area, isn't it? That
Yeah,
football club and what
yeah.
they're up to. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, when Dale rescued the club, I think that was primarily his thing. You know, he was asked to save it, and it's just almost been probably a happy accident.
Yeah.
He's been able to green up football.
club with a conscience. All that.
Yeah,
It's
great.
inspiring.
Yeah. Right, lovely guys. Really good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And,
Nice to meet you. Thank you for having
Yeah,
us.
we'll stay in touch and
Absolutely, yeah.
all the best. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.